Have you ever played a video game that is so simple and basic, yet you get so much enjoyment and pleasure out of it? I'm not talking about these big blockbuster games that take over 90 gigabytes of storage, but much smaller video games that don't get talked about that much. For me personally, I have several video games that I feel are unappreciated, but back in mid to late 2019, I was introduced to a video game from one of my favorite video game developers out there, Rockstar Games. A game that I didn't think much of at the time, a game that seemed basic and nothing special, but after playing it over and over again, I slowly got more and more into the game, and after a while, it slowly became one of my favorite video games of all time. And if you read the title of the video, you'll know that the game I'm talking about is none other than Bully.
Mom, why'd you marry that phony? What is wrong with you?
I've got a good feeling about you, boy. A feeling you and I are going to be great friends.
Hey, you're the new kid.
Yeah? What's it to you?
Friendly, aren't you?
Give me a break, loser.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of things about you.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay?
Just knock it off, Gary. You're out of line.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was hanging out in the girls' dorm. Silly me.
You know, you're not very nice, Gary.
And you're a loser, Petey.
Just get out of here, kid.
Why should I?
Because otherwise I'll kill you.
Because there are a bunch of kids around this place who need a beating, and you're picking on the few who don't. So I want you to leave me and him alone.
Now, when you first look at this game, you may think it's some generic open world game based in a high school, but behind the initial first impression lies a game with so much charm, personality, and replayability. When I first saw this game back in 2019, I thought nothing of it. I was really into the Grand Theft Auto series at the time, and when I saw Bully for the first time, I assumed it was nothing more than GTA set in a high school with no guns and driving. But then lockdown hit, and because of boredom, I decided to play through the entire game. And my god, I was missing out on one of my absolute favorite video games of all time. Now in this video, I'll go over the story, gameplay, graphics, music, and just the entire game as a whole, and also talk about the behind the scenes controversies along with its cancelled sequel. That being said, let's get into this video. Now, if you aren't aware of what the big deal is, or what this game is about, I'll fill you in. In Bully, you play as Jimmy Hopkins, a 15-year-old boy who gets into loads of trouble and has gotten expelled from multiple different high schools. His mother remarries a much older and richer man, who Jimmy does not like. They both get fed up with Jimmy's behaviour and decide to send him off to Bulworth Academy, while they go on a year-long vacation. When Jimmy first arrives at the school, he meets up with the school principal, Dr. Crabblesnitch.
Don't keep Dr. Crabblesnitch waiting. He's a brilliant man. Brilliant.
Bit of a weird name, not gonna lie. And he's taken to his dorm room, where he meets up with Pete and Gary. Jimmy and Pete will slowly become friends throughout the game, while Jimmy and Gary, however, will slowly become enemies throughout the game, as Gary will show throughout the game that he's kind of fucked up in the head. For the rest of the game, you are tasked with helping out nerdy kids, stop them from getting bullied, beat up the bullies and put them in their places, avoid getting into trouble with the school, doing random jobs and tasks, doing schoolwork, and exploring the small yet diverse map. Now before I get into my thoughts about the game, I briefly want to talk about the development of this game. Bully was first announced by Rockstar in May 2005, with it being planned to be released on the PS2 and the original Xbox in October 2005, but it was later pushed forward a whole year to October 2006, and the Xbox version of the game was later cancelled, most likely because the Xbox 360 was coming out at the time, so there was no point in releasing the game on what's essentially older hardware. Plus the PS2 was the most popular console at the time, and Rockstar had a track record of releasing all their games on PS2, so it just made sense. Originally, Take-Two indicated that the player would take control of a bully and would go around bullying nerds and shit. However, this was changed in the final game, since instead of having the player bully kids, you have to defend the kids. This was most likely changed, so there wouldn't be any controversy and people accusing this of being a bully simulator. But as we'll soon find out, people will still call this a bully simulator. The main developers behind Bully was Rockstar Vancouver, who were formerly known as Barking Dog Studios, and the game itself was published by Rockstar Games. Now, with the main plot and development out of the way, let's get into the main review of the game and why I love it so much. Now, at first glance, most people, including myself at the time, wrote this off as a GTA set in a high school with no weapons or vehicles to drive around in. This may seem boring at first, but after playing this game for less than an hour, you will be able to find so much charm, character, and personality here that makes this game a classic. First, I want to talk about the gameplay structure, along with the location and how enjoyable it is. The main setting for Bully is a boarding school called Bulworth Academy. The map is closed off in the beginning of the game, and like in the old GTA games, you have to unlock certain parts of the map by completing missions. These missions can range from helping out students all over the school, to even helping out corrupt and washed up teachers. And the missions can be incredibly fun and addicting to play through. They don't feel boring or extremely difficult to play through. They are able to balance fun yet challenging gameplay in a great way. But what really makes this game worth it for me are the abundance of side missions and activities here. When you're not playing any of the story mode missions, you can just sit back and play some of the side missions. These little side missions are scattered all over the map and can make the game feel very diverse in terms of content and replayability. One of my personal favorite side missions are the classroom activities. Yeah, weirdly enough, I got genuine enjoyment from these simple yet fun classroom games. During school hours, if you're caught outside the school and not in class, you'll be taken in and forced to do the entire class. They somehow managed to make learning in this game fun, and there is so much more stuff you can do around the map. Go to the fun fair, interact with strangers around the map and help them out, play games in the arcade, and explore this small yet diverse map. The game offers so many opportunities for the player to discover and play through. I never got bored while playing through Bully. Around every corner, there is always something fun to do. In terms of gameplay controls and mechanics, I'm not really a big fan of the walking and running controls here. It can often feel janky and difficult to work out, but after a while, I eventually got used to the choppy controls. All the other controls here work fine and don't feel out of place. Now, one thing that would definitely turn some people off from playing this game are the graphics. At first, these graphics seem very outdated and sort of ugly, to be honest. But when you take into consideration how this was more than likely a side project for Rockstar, and how this game was released just at the tail end of the PS2 era, it does sort of make sense. However, one aspect I can really praise the graphics for is how they tried to go for a cartoony style here with all the character designs. I really like this style. I'm really glad that they didn't try to make the graphics look realistic or anything, and instead, they tried to create a unique and cartoony style. Even the concept art shown in the loading screens has so much life and personality in them. Although I will admit, some of the characters here can come off as sort of creepy and hard to look at. But like I said earlier, it's a PS2 game, and the PS2 never really had the best graphics. And like I've said in a past video, Rockstar is never about making realistic graphics. Back in the early days, they were mainly about creating big and open worlds instead of having realistic graphics. Another memorable aspect of this game are the fun characters. First, you have the main character himself, Jimmy, who is one of my favorite gaming protagonists in all of gaming. Throughout the entire game, he gives off this attitude of, I don't give a flying fuck, and I love it.
Hey, new kid. You're that guy that beat up Russell.
So, what's it to you?
Hey, listen, we like to box, the noble art and all that. Why don't you come down by our gym in old Bulworth Vale? We should definitely hang out. Yeah, I've heard a lot of things about you.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Around the beginning, he doesn't seem to care about helping out these kids, and is only really doing it for the money. But as the game continues, he genuinely starts to care and wants to help out these kids. He hates how the bigger kids are picking on the weaker kids instead of standing up for them, and I really respect that.
Look, I never said anything about your mom or farmyard animals.
You did it?
No, but I want you to stop bullying weak kids.
Why?
Because there are a bunch of kids around this place who need a beating, and you're picking on the few who don't. So I want you to leave me and him alone.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Bad Russell.
And you can even customize Jimmy to your liking. Instead of being stuck in the boring school uniform, you can dress Jimmy in multiple different outfits, and even change his hairstyle and give him tattoos. They mainly took the RPG elements out of San Andreas and implemented them here. I absolutely love all the customizable aspects here. It gives the game such a bigger sense of freedom and being able to do what you want. And there's an abundance of side characters here that adds to the game's charm. First, there are the main characters here. We got Gary, who is some insane motherfucker who is hellbent on taking over the school. He's honestly amazing and cracks me up every time he's on screen. His entire goal throughout the game is to take over the school and be the best he can be. You also kind of get the idea that he's insane and a bit of a psychopath. That's what adds to his character. They don't try and start him off as a nice kid, but slowly show him off to be a monster. In the beginning, he's already a monster, and they show it off in an amazing way. Then there's Petey, who has been the victim of Gary's bullying and is shown to be relatively shy and awkward and doesn't stand up for himself.
Gary's taking everything out of context, man.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't lie, Petey. Don't you lie. Because you know what happens to liars?
No, I'm not lying.
We kick them in the balls!
Well, at the beginning, Jimmy doesn't really like Petey either, and sort of picks on him as well, but as the game continues, Jimmy starts to stand up for him, and they genuinely start to grow a bond together, which is really great to see. And of course, we have a plethora of side characters here, like the principal, Dr. Crabblesnitch, still a fucking weird name, the principal of the school who turns a blind eye to all of the bullying going on, Russell Northrop, a stereotypical dumb but strong bully, Johnny Vincent, the biggest greaser stereotype I've ever seen in the game, Ernest Jones, the leader of the nerds and someone who I could relate to. If you couldn't tell already, this game plays with a lot of high school stereotypes. Instead of being bland, boring and predictable, they play with these stereotypes and create fun and memorable characters. The game has so many groups of characters that makes them feel diverse and unique. There are the bullies, preppies, greasers, nerds, and jocks. They all have their own characteristics and way of dressing and talking, and they are loads of fun to interact with. My favorite group of characters has to be the preppies, mainly because of how much the game makes fun of them, and the weird amount of incest jokes on their end, which is kind of weird, but hilarious when you consider what kind of characters they are.
Did you say you're waiting for Darby?
Yes. I don't really like him, but he's my cousin and our family wants us to get married. You know, keep up the tradition.
Wait, marry your cousin?
You know, it used to be brother and sister until it was made illegal. My aunt has 4 thumbs.
But all of these weird yet fun characters allow for hilarious interactions and banter with Jimmy. And in terms of freedom, there's a lot of freedom here. Instead of being confined in the school or your dorm room, you are able to just get up and leave the school grounds and do whatever you want, whenever you want. The school gates open after chapter 2, and once they are open, they stay open. It's not like you have to stay in the school or have to go to class. If you want to leave and do missions outside of school, you can. There is nothing stopping you from doing so. I think what I love most about Bully is its sense of freedom. Rockstar is known for pushing the limits when it comes to making games and creating these humongous worlds where players can explore around, but Bully isn't groundbreaking or genre defining. It's a fun and simple game. Games don't have to be huge and diverse in terms of graphics and scale. They can simply be small and fun games that have lots of charm. Game studios nowadays feel that if they make their graphics more realistic and the world's bigger, that equals a good game. But that's not how it works. Looking at Bully, it is the most graphically appealing game, or the biggest game in terms of size, scale and scope. But they add in so much for the player to do, and give the game so much charm. While I was doing my playthrough of Bully recently, I had such a big smile on my face just because of how much fun I was having. The developers put in so much to see and do, and gave the players so many opportunities that it makes this game a blast to play through. It doesn't have to be like Grand Theft Auto with explosions, gunfires, and stealing vehicles, but it has its own identity, being a super fun and charming game. Oh yeah, and I forgot to talk about the music in the game. The game's composer was Sean Lee, and he went all out with the music here. The game has a very recognizable sound to it, if that makes sense. They mainly use bass guitar to convey the sound of the game, but the main genre of music here is clearly rock and roll. The music really helps set the mood of being a mischievous kid in high school, and it can be sort of nostalgic listening to the music here. I've listened to the soundtrack so many times and it's a blast to listen to. Now, with the game with so much charm and personality, of course some stupid and brain-dead politicians want to off-store shelves. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Jack Thompson. To give you a bit of history, Mr. Thompson hates the video game industry, especially Rockstar games. He accused the GTA series of giving young children the idea to steal cars and kill people. He would campaign to get these games off of store shelves, and we'll talk about how video games are corrupting our young generation. But Bully really caught his attention. Before the game even came out, he claimed that Bully would convince kids to bully and harass other kids at school, and even cause school shootings, going as far as to call the game a Columbine shooting simulator. And weirdly enough, he hated how Jimmy could originally make out with boys in the game. Bit of a weird complaint, not gonna lie. And what's sad to see is that he wasn't alone here. Tons of people were against this game and found the game to be very controversial, even though the game is rated 15+ and is not recommended for young children. What most people didn't like about the game was the title, Bully. They thought that the title alone could cause bullying in schools. It got so bad that Rockstar had to change the title of Bully in the UK. Instead of being called Bully, it was called Canis Canimedit, which is Latin for dog eat dog. I have no idea why Rockstar titled the game Canis Canem Edits in the UK, but who knows, that's just Rockstar being Rockstar. Now looking past all the drama and controversies, the game was a massive success, selling over 1 million copies, and over time, it would gain a huge following. Tons of fans would share their appreciation for the game by creating art, fan animations, theories, and custom mods for the game. With all of this success, you'd think that Rockstar would make a sequel to the game, but no. All we got was Bully Scholarship Edition, a remaster of the original game released for Wii and Xbox 360 back in 2008. And later in 2016, we got the Anniversary Edition, released on iOS and Android devices. But between 2019 to 2021, we started getting leaks and information about a cancelled Bully sequel that Rockstar spent years developing, but would later cancel to focus on other games. So let's talk about this cancelled sequel. So the first mention of Bully 2 dates way back to November 2009, where Bully's composer, Sean Lee, was doing an interview with the Gaming Liberty and stated, "Yes, it looks like I'll be doing the soundtrack for Bully 2 in the not so distant future." He added to the statement in a fan email, stating that Rockstar had mentioned Bully 2 to him, but other than that, he knows nothing. However, 6 years later in 2015, Sean would claim that those were misquotes and that he knows nothing about Bully 2. But later in the summer of 2017, we got a huge Bully 2 leak, where tons of concept art of the game was leaked online. In these pictures, we can see concept art of different buildings and characters. All of the characters have that signature cartoony style that Bully is known to have. However, many were skeptical of the art that was leaked, since there is no way to prove if the concept art was real or fake. But 2 years later in July of 2019, Reddit user FICA122 had a talk with a former Rockstar employee. The anonymous Rockstar employee revealed that the concept art leaked was in fact real. The employee also revealed some new information, claiming that the game was going to be about Jimmy spending his summer vacation at his stepdad's house while being able to explore a new town and interact with new characters. The employee also mentioned that they're developing new gameplay mechanics for the game, such as a wall climbing mechanic and a rope mechanic. The rope mechanics that were made for Bully 2 would later be implemented into Red Dead Redemption. Later in 2019, more information of Bully 2 would be revealed. It was revealed that Dan Houser had written an outline for Bully 2, and that early development kicked off in late 2008. However, in 2009, production was put on hold to focus on Red Dead Redemption. After Red Dead was released, Bully 2's development would kick off again in 2010, and this time being led by Rockstar New England. Over a year and a half was spent on development, with a playable test build of the game even existing at some point, which is powered by the Rage engine, the game engine that is used to run all of Rockstar's modern games. New information of the game would remain silent up until December 2021, where multiple developers on this game stepped forward and shed some light on this cancelled game. One developer mentioned how Rockstar wanted the Bully series to stand next to other popular Rockstar games, like the GTA games. Bully 2 was going to be much bigger than the first game, having a team of around 50 to 70 people working on it. The map was going to be nowhere near the size of GTA 4's map, but it was going to be 3 times bigger than the original game's map. But they were planning to make up for the small size of the map by having the world be incredibly diverse. They had planned to have nearly every building in the game be accessible, by force or by normal means. This definitely would have made the map feel much more diverse and alive, and much bigger. A developer said how they were working on a window breaking mechanic that will later be implemented into Max Payne 3. This mechanic would have allowed the players to smash windows and break into buildings. They even had something of an honor system in Bully 2, where certain NPCs in the game would recognize Jimmy and remember his actions. If the player was nice towards the NPC, they would remember that and would be nice to Jimmy. However, if the player was a dick towards the NPC, they would still remember that and be angry towards Jimmy. If you find this gameplay mechanic familiar, it was taken from this cancelled game and implemented into Red Dead 1 and 2. This would have been very advanced gameplay for the time, and it certainly would have affected how players treat the NPCs around them. You could also build relationships with some of the characters around the map. A developer mentioned how you can be best friends with the house chef, or you and him could be enemies. Along with the characters changing over the game, the developers had plans to have the map evolve and grow as the game progresses. One feature that was mentioned was how grass would grow over time, and that lawn mowing would be a feature where you could most likely cut grass as a side job. There are also plans to have Jimmy break into places. There's going to be loads more climbing featured here, where Jimmy can climb over fences, walls, hedges, and houses. And the broken glass particle system that I mentioned earlier would have been used to break into houses. Also, new weapons were planned for the game, but the only one that we know of is a paintball gun. As we look more into these leaks, we can see how in the playable build of the game, a mission that was inspired by Camp Krusty and The Simpsons is going to play a major aspect in the game. This shows that summer camp was planned for the game, correlating to the leaks from 2017. Another playable mission was one where you can play around as Jimmy in his underwear with a bulge. Apparently they wanted to be more risque with the game, being inspired by a lot of 80s films like The Goonies and Porky's. According to the developers, the playable build of the game was around 6 to 8 hours long, but unfortunately the game was nowhere near completed, and it would have needed at least another 2 to 3 years of development. Despite all of this development, the game was unfortunately cancelled because the game was going nowhere, and they wanted to focus on other games. I am honestly really upset that we never got to see this cancelled game. From the concept art that was leaked and all the information we got, the game sounds amazing, and Rockstar really wanted to make something special, but unfortunately, Rockstar wanted to focus on other bigger games like Max Payne 3 and GTA 5. There are rumors of a Bully 2 still being in development, but I highly doubt there being a sequel soon. Now that I've talked about the entire legacy of Bully and its cancelled sequel, there is a special guest I had to talk with about Bully, and that is none other than the voice actor of Jimmy Hopkins, Gerry Rosenthal. I sat down and asked him some questions about his experience with the game and what it was like voicing this iconic game, and here is our interview. Hope you guys enjoy it. Alright, so first of all I have one question. Okay, well, I have multiple questions, but the first question, unrelated to Bully, how did you get into acting? Like, how did that all start?
My when I was about 5, I want to say 5 or 6, my mother, I grew up outside of New York City, which is, obviously one of the acting capitals, and I was just a cute kid, and they took my parents would take me into found me an agent and got me in commercials, and I just kind of have been doing it, ever since.
Sounds great. Now, right on to Bully. How did you get the part of Jimmy Hopkins? Like, how did that all start?
Well, I got the audition like pretty much any other audition. I knew it was a video game, and I just, I read, actually, the audition scene was the first, the opening scene where, or the opening monologue where he says something like, here I was at Bulworth, the worst school on earth, full of, psychos, and or whatever he says in the very beginning. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It was those lines. So, I read them, and it was just like any other audition, man. I was in and out in 10 minutes. I read the lines and split.
Yeah, I get that. So, when you start recording them, how long did the recording sessions last, and what were they like for you?
They did 4-hour sessions at a clip. Couple of days they did 2 sessions in a day, but generally that only happened like once or twice. Generally you did a 4-hour session and that was it. I mean, because it's a lot to 8 hours a day is a long time to be talking and voice acting, especially voice acting has to be bigger, and Jimmy does a lot of yelling, and it's 4 hours was plenty of time, before you started to really kind of lose your voice. And I think overall I did about 15, 16 days. So, whatever that is, like 16 days times 4 hours a day, 60 something hours, maybe 70 hours. Because obviously Jimmy's not the only character in the game, and they were recording all the other characters too at the same time.
I see. So, what was it like? Did you have a fun time while recording? Did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah. It was a lot of fun. It was myself, the director, the guy who directed the voice acting, and I can't remember his name. He's a really nice guy. It was so long ago, man. I don't recall. But he was a nice guy. He directed all the voice acting. And then there was an engineer and a producer. It was pretty much just 3-4 people in there the whole time. That was it. The same 3-4 people.
Did you get to meet Dan and Sam Houser, who were kind of the heads of Rockstar? Did you get to meet them, and if so, what were they like?
I'll be honest, man. If I met them, I don't recall. I'm not at all really a gamer or into video games at all, to be quite honest. I never even had a Nintendo growing up. I played video games at friends' houses, Nintendo and Super Nintendo, and I was born in 1980, so Nintendo was bigger, when I was younger. in the 80s, but I never actually owned any gaming console my entire life. I never owned a PlayStation or anything. So I really didn't have. It wasn't like I was a big fan of video games and knew. I mean, I'd heard of obviously of GTA at that point. 2000. I think I did this in 2004 and 5, and the game came out in 06. So GTA was already pretty big at that point. When I booked Bully, so I knew it was going to be a bigger game. So that was cool. That was fun. But I didn't know who beyond the 3 or 4 people in the room with me. I wouldn't have known who those guys were unless I met them at some point and just had no idea who they were.
Was there any cut material from the game that you recall that you recorded for and wasn't in the final game?
Again, I couldn't tell you, man, because I never really played it. I played it once, twice for a live stream that I did on my YouTube channel. I don't know if you ever checked that out. So that was in 2017. I did a couple of those, and I mean, I think you see, I don't even make it. I think I saved the game at I completed 3%. So I didn't really know. Again, it was so long ago, man. I have no idea what it's not like it's a movie where you can shoot a movie or a TV show and then go back and watch it and say, oh, this scene got cut or that scene got cut. You had to actually play the game to see the scenes, right? So I never actually really played it, so I never beat any levels, and I never really saw any cutscenes. Other than clips on YouTube. I've seen some stuff on YouTube.
What was your favorite line from the game that you spoke that you remember, something that you thought was really funny?
Oh, man, I don't know, man. I know the line, I was always more into music. You know that line? He's in theater class or something, and I always thought that was funny because I am a musician, as I'm sure you know. I was big into music at the time, so it's funny. People, fans of the game, have latched onto that quote over the years, and I post a lot of music on YouTube and Facebook and stuff, and so people will say, "Hey, we always knew you were into music, more into music than acting," which is pretty ironic. I didn't really pay very close attention to, the lines, the dialogue. I also was reading just to myself. It's not like I was in a room with anybody else. I had friends who were voices, but I didn't even find that out until after the game came out. Oh, my buddy Ben did a voice. It didn't, because you're just reading the lines, by yourself.
Nice. On to the next question. Did you ever think Bully would kind of gain this big following over the next few years, or did you think it was kind of be a small project?
Well, I mean, I think no. I mean, I don't think we thought it would be as big as GTA. First of all, it wasn't. It was for kids, right? So it wasn't as adults. It wasn't for adults. So there was a lot of things they couldn't do, and also the world wasn't nearly as big. I think there's something I remember them saying, Bully had something 90 cutscenes, and Grand Theft Auto had, I think, around 300. So it's just a bigger game. Obviously, anything Rockstar does is going to get attention and gonna get a following. Did I think that it would last for 17, 16 years? No. Did I think I'd talk to a kid, 15 years later about it from Ireland? No.
You never know what happens, I guess. You never know what happens.
Well, the internet wasn't what it was in 2006, even as compared to today. Social media was really non-existent. I think Facebook at that time, you had to be in college to use it, right? So I didn't even have a Facebook account until much later. So I couldn't really, it's not like I could promote it really effectively. There was one time I thought, oh, this is pretty cool. This might be a little bigger than I realized. I was nominated for a Spike TV award for best voice acting in a main character for a game. Do you know Spike? You ever heard of Spike TV? You ever heard of them? I don't know if you probably don't have it in Ireland.
I've definitely heard about it though, but we don't have it over here, sadly.
It was, there was a time where Spike, I don't even know if it exists anymore, but there was a time when it had all this super trendy, loud stuff on it, and they created a video game award ceremony. I don't know, I doubt it still happens, but at the time, it was me. I was nominated, and the other nominees were Patrick Stewart for a Star Trek video game, Johnny Depp for a Pirates of the Caribbean game, Seth Green, and then there was one other actor, another huge actor who was nominated too, and then me, Gerry Rosenthal. and funny enough, it was one of those things where like you had to vote online, and you could vote once a day. And obviously, I wasn't gonna win, but I was hoping I'd get invited to the show. And actually, I got a phone call, and from a guy from a company that like tracks people down. I guess I don't know exactly what his. It wasn't like a private investigator, but he was like, yeah, we were hired to kind of like find you. You're a hard guy to find. And I'm thinking to myself, I have an agent. I have a name and an agent. Like you could have called Rockstar. Like I don't know how hard, why it'd be so hard to find, because they were trying to invite me to the ceremony. And I was like, yeah, I'd go. And then they were like, cool, yeah, we're gonna get all the info to you. And I never heard it from him again. Samuel L. Jackson was the host of that game show too, of that award show. So that would have been cool. It was in L.A. I mean, I could have maybe gone to it, but after that, I mean, nothing really at all happened with it in terms of like advancing my career until really Swegta from YouTube. You know him, right?
Oh yeah, I know him.
He reached out to me years ago, and we've become friends, and just developed it on a relationship via the internet. He's a great kid, and he's been, when I met him, man, his channel had like 1,000 subscribers. This is in 2000, maybe 10 or 11, and now he's got over 200,000 subscribers, and he's pretty much like a hub of bully community. He kind of runs the show there. So he got in touch with me, and we did some stuff together. He helped me out with the live streams big time, he helped me with the Q&A. That if you go to his channel, there's some stuff I did with him. So yeah, I mean, no, I didn't think it would be as big as it was. I guess I certainly didn't expect to be still getting messages to this day. I get DMs a lot, Instagram, Facebook. Just kids. Most kids want to know if Bully 2 coming out, which obviously I have no idea.
Yeah, the big Bully 2 going around all over the place now. Well, that's great to hear. On to the next question. Are you still able to do the Jimmy Hopkins voice, or have you like grown out of it?
Well, I mean, it was just my voice, man. It was like, hey man, hey, quit being such a bully. Hey, you loser. I didn't do a voice, man. I was 25 years old, and they told me I sounded like a tough 15-year-old kid. That's how I got the part. I talked in my own voice the whole time. There was no voice for me. And so, now I'm 16 years older. I guess my voice is deepened some. Probably not. I still have a pretty high voice.
What was it like playing the game for the first time, or like seeing clips of it and hearing your voice come out of this like 15-year-old kid? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. It was a trip, It was, it wasn't like, mind blowing or anything. It was just like, hey, cool. I did the voice, and there it is. And character kind of even, I think, looks a little like me. And, it was cool.
Nice. On to the next one. What's it been like interacting with the fandom and seeing like how like people appreciate the game so much? Like, what's that been like?
Yeah, I mean, that's been probably the coolest thing about this whole experience, is interacting with some of the fans, like yourself and other people who, have generally been overwhelmingly kind and complimentary of my job as Jimmy, and also supportive and of my music too. Very a lot of people have a lot of nice things to say about the music I write and record too. So that's always nice. I found it's a very supportive, generally kind of nice community. I mean, there were some trolls for sure. There was a kid who kept using the N-word on the live stream. He just kept saying it, like typing it, and then we would block him, and he would like start a new YouTube handle and deleting it. Oh God! It was bizarre. It was just people the rare troll aside, everybody's been super cool.
Oh, that's great to hear. It's great to see the community be really like kind of enthusiastic about this thing you did years ago. Like that must be really great to see.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice knowing that you did something that had a positive effect on people.
On to a next one. There's been lots of controversy with Rockstar and how they treated actors. For you personally, like, did Rockstar treat you good, or did they treat you shitty, or like, how would you rate your experience with Rockstar?
Interesting. Yeah, no, I mean, I had nothing but positive, nothing but a positive experience. Yeah, I can't say that anybody treated me poorly or were disrespectful. I came in again. It was typically one producer, the engineer, who engineered the session behind the mixing console, and the guy who directed the voice actors. And I wish I could remember his name because he was really cool. I really liked him a lot. And that was it. I mean, I rarely saw anybody else other than those three people.
Now, if I don't ask this question, I feel like I'm gonna get attacked. But like, there's been like lots of kind of leaks of a cancelled Bully 2 that was like in development a couple of years ago that got cancelled. Were you like ever contacted by Rockstar saying, hey, might be doing a Bully 2, we might need you back? Or like, did you never hear anything from them? Was it just like the one game and that's it?
Yeah, I never heard from them again after I was done doing my part. Actually, that's not true. I never heard of them. I never heard from them about Bully 2, but when they re-released the first game on Nintendo Wii, they added a few cutscenes, and I was lucky enough to go and do the motion capture acting. So they, you put on the spandex and with all the little balls all over your like just like Gollum in Lord of the Rings, or any motion capture acting. So that was cool. I got to act out those 3 scenes, and then I believe I did the voice for them too. But yeah, as far as Bully 2 goes, no, nobody's ever reached out to me.
Well, with like all the hype that Bully 2 has and like how people really want it, like if Rockstar got in contact with you and said, hey, we want to do a Bully 2, would you be down for it?
Oh, of course. I mean, well, why wouldn't I be? Use the money, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, I feel in the era that I did this game, 2000, again, it came out in 2006, correct? I feel like that was kind of the last era where the actors hired to do these characters still might not be famous, right? So now, if the Bully 2 again, they'd get the actors they get for GTA, Ray Liotta, and those actors help sell the game. I don't think personally, man, no offense to the Bully community, but I don't think Rockstar's gonna care, how loudly the community yells about wanting, Gerry Rosenthal back as Jimmy Hopkins. I don't think they'll care because they're going to get a famous person. They know you're all going to buy it anyway, so they could hire a famous person and create more hype. That said, a famous person would be more expensive than me. So I mean, maybe they would use me again, but I just always assumed they'd get somebody with a name recognition, but they would cost more money. So maybe they would go with me. I don't know.
And boy, remember, you will have a clean nose. So keep it clean, or we'll clean it for you.
Welcome to Bullworth Academy.
To conclude this video essay, Bully wasn't a groundbreaking game or changed the gaming industry as a whole. It is, however, an incredibly fun, charming, likable, challenging, and enjoyable game to play. The amount of effort that was put into a simple game set in a boarding school is genuinely amazing. They didn't make some bland and generic game where you play as a mischievous student in a school bullying kids. They added so much detail to this world and so many fun and memorable characters, and you're not just stuck in the school. You're free to go out and do whatever you want, whenever you want, and have fun. I had such a great time playing over this game again. It gave me so much enjoyment and put a big smile on my face. While it does have its issues like the bad graphics and outdated control system, time, I can look past those minor elements and focus on the stuff that I love about the game. And the community for this game is still huge, with so many hardcore fans showing their appreciation and love for this amazing game. I wish more people would see this game for the amazing game that it is, and not some bland, outdated high school game that most people passed off as. But I highly urge you all to play this game. Just because it's not like Grand Theft Auto doesn't make it a bad game. It's on most modern consoles, and it's fairly cheap. If you're gonna play a certain version of the game, play the Scholarship Edition. It's the most up-to-date version of the game, and it's the version that's on most modern consoles like Xbox One and PS4. Hell, it's even on mobile devices, so you all have no excuse not to play this game. Anyway, I'd like to give a huge thanks to Gerry Rosenthal for letting me interview him about the game and ask him some questions. He is a legend and just an amazing guy overall. The links to his socials will be down in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching this video. This is a topic I'm very passionate about, and I've been dying to make a video essay on this amazing game for so long. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.